Well, I'm a historian, a Mi'kmaq historian. I was born in Indian Brook Reserve in 1938, and my parents were William and Sarah Paul, and I was taught in schools that we came from a savage culture, an inferior culture, and that if we wanted to succeed in life, we should adopt the white way, the right way. And the year I was born, 1938, the Mi'kmaq and other indigenous people in Canada were considered wards of the Crown. We had the same legal rights as insane persons and drunks. And lived under the Indian Act, which even had provisions that we couldn't indulge in a bottle of beer internally or externally, and if we got caught, it was subject to fine, or if a judge decided, maybe 10 days in jail. It did create in me an inferiority complex that stuck with me for a while, and what kind of got the better of me on that thing was working in a hat factory in Boston, and when I was probably 17 or 18, somewhere around that. And this black lady from Mississippi called me over and said, "Boy, you walk around here with your head down, and like you think everybody here is better than you. I suggest you get your head up and begin to look at the history of your people. You don't know too much about them." I said, "I know nothing about them really." And she said, "When at the end of the day, you'll probably be very proud of where you come from and the rest of it." And I took her advice. It's you're looking back and that kind of thing. That's what a racist society is, and I took exception to that when I was very young, and have worked very industriously ever since to try to change things. About 4 or 5 years ago, they discovered I had prostate cancer, and went through radiation treatment and went into remission, and things got better. And last January I had an issue with my heart, and I wound up in infirmary, Halifax Infirmary. And for 5 days, and while there, they took an X-ray and discovered a spot on my lung, and did a biopsy in April, and discovered it was stage 2 lung cancer, and recommended radiation treatment, which I went through in May, and it sent that into remission. And then on the 27th of October, I met with another doctor, and he informed me that I had liver cancer and that it was terminal, and I had 3 to 6 months to live, and that was it. I feel pretty good at this point in time, and I made a statement to the effect I intend to live until I die, and I always accepted my mortality, that nobody on the face of the earth is going to live forever. I know a lot of people think they are and act like they are, but eventually we're all going to go. I'm prepared to live with it. Nothing you can do about it. I'm happy that we have changed a lot in Nova Scotia. In my young days, it was known as the Mississippi of Canada, which was an apt description of Nova Scotia at that time. The black and Mi'kmaq were barred from most hotels and restaurants and pool rooms. You think, segregation was only in the South. I got news for people. It was widely practiced here in Canada. And when I wrote We Were Not, the first edition of We Were Not the Savages, I also, I first considered doing oral history, and then decided most people would say that's bullshit, so in plain English. So I decided the best thing to do was use the British history and itself. So they wrote everything in minute detail, the horrors that they committed, with an assumption, I suppose, that nobody would ever come along and dig it out and go public with it, which I did. Our history in Nova Scotia has been very bad, okay, very until recent times. I would like to see people learn about one another, okay, and don't look at another person's cultural practices as being barbaric and not inferior to your own. And this is what caused the horrors that were visited upon Indigenous people. I'm content with what I've done and ready to pass on the torch to the next generation. And I think we made a lot of progress. Came out of the closet and out of the darkness and said we ain't going to take it anymore. And I think we've done a fairly good job over the last 30 years in changing things. But I would like people to say, he did it, we can. End the story. And that's about it. It's, I did get a message from a young man that told me that I inspired him to get a university education. He had a inferior complex, I would say, related to our culture and our racial origins, and he picked up a copy of my first edition of We Were Not the Savages, read it, and said, gee, an Indian wrote this. And it inspired him to go and get himself a hell of a good education, and he has a PhD today.